All right, so if our panelists want to come up, just do a handful of questions. So one thing I'll throw out there, and then we can honestly just open it up if anyone has questions, is I asked all of you beforehand, what's the big challenge you're dealing with? Hearing everyone speak today, anything you'd want to add on a challenge you're working on, a takeaway, a next steps? We don't have to go in an order. Anyone want to share like lessons learned, takeaways, being here for a couple days, and how the challenges you're experiencing or have experienced or currently experiencing, and how do you get through that? How do you overcome? What's the key to success in getting through a big challenge you're working on? Just anyone can just speak up.
Yeah, let's see if this works. Yeah. I'm thinking we talk a lot about storytelling, and for us it was the internal storytelling within our group, to always know your why and to know why you're doing what you're doing. And I think that might be one of the most important and strong tools to use in sustainability, because we've been talking about that for the last 2 days here. Where are our leaders, showing us in the right directions and telling us that, following the sustainable principles is a good thing, nothing to be scared of. On the contrary, it's the right way to go. So I'm thinking storytelling in relation to our guests, but also in relation to each other and sharing stories like we are the days like this. It's been extremely important for us.
Yeah, it's basically walking the talk and not going for the certification, doing actually the deeds with your community and showing the example. So, for example, I've learned something new on this path. I'm now organic farmer, so to say. So the veggies and the stuff that I eat now, when I'm with my partner in Norway, actually, they come from the garden. We have our chicken in the backyard and everything. So before this, it was just a talk in a way, but it's now more easier for me to relate to the difficulties, the challenges, but also the gratifying things that comes along. And then it's easier for me to speak and spread the message in my community. So I think it's always with the sustainability, it starts from yourself.
Yeah, and I'll add a lot of the storytelling work that we do with destinations, it's actually, the pieces I showed you were consumer, but the more work actually goes trade, goes B2B. It's really getting other people on board, realizing and seeing firsthand. You get an emotional engagement, and then you start the discussion and the conversation. Anyone else just on a challenge you've had, and what's been the key to success to overcome it?
I think something that I mentioned earlier, this focus on the kind of the emotive story. I think giving people something tangible to understand is really important. If you look at the slides that Anna took us through yesterday morning, it's like, I mean, it's an existential crisis what we're facing, and it's really overwhelming for people, for travelers, to kind of make the right decision because they're bombarded with so much information and none of it's good. So trying to find those ways in which you can talk about sustainability in a way which is positive, but maybe as well flipping it, like so much of the story is about how you can give back to the planet and protect the planet. But actually, if you look at what the planet can give you on a sustainable holiday or a sustainable trip, that is kind of a nice way of looking at it. The fact that you can kind of, if you protect it, you can escape in these kind of remarkable surroundings around the world. So kind of flipping it as well, I think, and showing people what Mother Nature can give you, as well as it being about your responsibility on Mother Nature, I think is something that I kind of have been thinking about the last couple of days. But I think making it tangible, making sure it's not scary. Trying not to focus too much on things like being carbon neutral, because people just hear so much of that and they don't really know what it means. And so how can I just want to be able to do something good and right when I'm traveling. So making it easy for people to do that and telling that story, I think, is really important.
We have the, I don't know if this is global, but in the US, the acronym KISS, keep it simple, stupid. You know, like just simple. Simple is better. Anyone else want to share? And I can ask other questions. Or
I can maybe add on to Ryan's exceptional work, what he has been done for Visit Estonia, and now it's our turn to implement it in real life. And this is always a challenge because the mindset you have to change is really on a very large scale. But I'm really happy that we are doing the steps, and as Ryan also presented you, the way that regions are picking up our story, I think this is the way how we can really make an impact. It's not that only the national level and the face abroad what we are bringing in, but it's also implemented on a regional level and in regional DMOs, and they can back us up and really provide real life stories, real persons. And I was telling to Ryan before that, yeah, we have to change our promotional videos. We have to bring more locals into the videos. But yeah, I know I have to be patient and persistent in that work. This is the challenge, but let's keep up.
Yeah, and I'll say between all 6 of you and your individual stories, the one common theme when looking at is education. With your staff, with your all the different regions, all the different stakeholders, with DMO, with travelers, future travelers, younger travelers, with your local community, with your, in Stockholm. I mean, education. So since this is talking about business and marketing, how can marketing improve? We talked about storytelling, but how can marketing communication, from your perspective, where can it innovate? Where can it go be better looking forward? Again, any just examples of how marketing can be improved where it is right now, or we've made a lot of success, how can it be tweaked or adjusted?
Well, I think that listening to messages from this, for example, this conference, everybody wants to be the most sustainable destination in the world. And it's a tall order for every single one of us succeed in a way that we will be the most.
Yeah, who is number one?
And that's the thing that I think that we need to be able to, again, use our marketing as a tool in a way to tell a story in a way that people understand what is the actual work that you've been doing. And then a little bit going to Ryan's work and what Estonia is doing, I think it's important to say not to leave an impact, but actually not to leave a negative impact. Whereas we can ask the tourists in our marketing to come and leave a positive impact, because that can also be beneficiary to the region and the destination. So regenerative travel, where we are involving the tourist in doing something good for the region. For example, we have indigenous people in the area. We would like to have an interaction that's positive and regenerative, maybe. And teaching people how important, for example, for reindeer herding, tell a story about how the culture is dependent if the reindeer are there, and if what the climate change can do. For example, 2013, I think, was about 60,000 reindeer who died because they couldn't dig the food through the snow that was frozen because of the climate change, and that happened in Russia. What if it would happen in our region? Of course, we have the means to feed the reindeer, but still, cultures can disappear if animals disappear, and so forth. So these stories and how to involve the tourism in the marketing by telling stories that are actually valuable and important when it comes to tourism is something that we need to look at. And I think, for example, your work, what you're doing around the world, is great for portraying that.
Well, it's interesting when you look at sustainability, because Ryan, you talked about it with Estonia, and it's part of the fabric, but it's not front and center. It's part of the foundation or the top, however you look at it. It is interesting and who is the most sustainable, I mean, that, whatever, I won't even go there. But I think from our standpoint, we want all destinations, because we look at the end goal as impact. travelers having a positive impact. The destinations are changing and adjusting. Everyone's changing and making it part of their way of doing business, the foundation of tourism, which I would hope is the future. But anything else on the marketing communication side?
Yeah, I'm thinking, I agree on what you say, but I also think about, we've talked a lot about, making sustainability default and decide and design our own destinations and everything like that. And then it is of course important that a part of that is also narrowing that green gap that we talk about. What people know they ought to do and they don't, and we have the power to make those decisions for our guests as they come to us, and that means that it's not so much a marketing anymore. It's more of a relationship. How do we explain to our guests why we made the decisions that we did? No, you can't do that because we've decided you have to do this, etc., etc. So it's a more of a new relationship to our guests, not so much asking sometimes when it comes to default. If you're coming to, we're passionate about this. This is what we're gonna offer you, instead of being so scared that we've been before. What do our visitor want? No, right. This is us, and this is what we're gonna offer. I love that. That's a totally new. We're confident in another way if we dare to take those steps. And
speaking of happiness, your guests, you're seeing a total change of people. I would say, we've all talked about how a lot of people say, yeah, I want to do a sustainable experience trip, but then when they get to the hotel, they just turn the shower on. They just they go back to their old ways, but you're seeing change happening. Granted, your demographic is getting younger. But are you seeing older, Gen Z or Gen X coming and changing their ways too?
Yes.
Or hoping maybe in the future,
Yes, they are changing as well. And what I was thinking is the experience is an education itself at the end. When consider maybe in a year I host 2,000 single persons, and every time they come. For example, let's give the example of the no plastic water bottles, because I have an ozone filtered machine that delivers cold or hot water for free of charge in a city where tap water is not drinkable. So still there are some people who is going to buy plastic bottles from outside the hotel and coming back. So
you need a beeper. You need a beeper at the door, so when they walk in,
But since it's the apartment hotel, half of it has kitchenette, so I cannot tell the guest you cannot bring anything to drink or eat inside. So, but I think when they come and when they meet me, I'm always, please don't make it. Please, there's water here. It's I can show you the tests. I'm sending the water every 3 months to the test because it's a distillation machine. So I think in the first time, second time, but third time, that specific person sees these things in another accommodation. In the fourth time, she's going to ask for it for the fifth travel of hers. She's going to book somewhere that banned already the plastic bottles. So the tourist gets educated from its own experience.
Yep. Let me just open it up. Any questions from anyone? And I'll bring the mic to you if anyone have any questions. Can I just borrow?
Sorry.
Sure.
Hi, Aise. You are really walking the talk with your little hotel. Congratulations. How do you feel about when connecting this with your country, the GSDC and Turkey's, destination policy about it? Are you chimed in any way, or are you doing your own thing without too much connection to the official policy there?
Yes, should I?
No,
So this, as I told in the presentation, the Turkish Tourism Board has decided that all the facilities has to have a sustainability certification. This is like imposing sustainability. Since the thing that got imposed is a good thing, it's okay, but it's still imposing something. But to me, it's okay because I'm on that side of the thing. But there are many small hoteliers who doesn't know how to do that, and many are adopting if it's going to end up with the checking boxes with some not experienced auditors, or are we going to do something properly? So that's a question mark. But in Turkey, it has a young generation, and when something starts, it moves very fast. So I see more young people in Turkey concerned about the climate crisis or the plastic pollution than Italy, for example. So that's something good that it can move in Turkey.
Sure.
So there are positive and negative things.
Yeah.
Any Italians in the group? No.
I'm hosting Italian, so I know.
Yeah, I think you were touching a very important topic here when you're talking about small companies, especially 1- or 2-person companies, when they are face-to-face with a requirement of becoming sustainable in a short span of time. Where do they get the understanding, the resources, the education to help to do it? So if a government entity, for example, expects something to happen, they need to show the means and the ways to be able to get help to these smaller companies. It's very easy for a chain company, actually, well, easy, but much easier for a big organization with huge resources to implement something that is demanded of them. But I can see there is a potential danger of losing the diversity of services, especially with small excursion companies, safari companies that are like 1-person guides or something like that, if they are required to do a huge certification that costs them 2,500 euros. So that actually might drop some of the services out of it because they don't know what to do and how to do it. And I think that in Lapland, in Finland, there is a destination called Levi, and a local company became a sponsor for small companies for the 3 first years to get them certified, to give them sponsorship and sort of like a stipendium to get going. So all the small companies would be able to apply. And then there was a support person that was there to go there, and hand in hand look for the certificates and tick the boxes, but also look at the things that need to be done, like what you've done. You could be a great person on this. Career change maybe in the future, let the run itself. But, this is something that is required for us to be successful.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
I just wanted to ask Nuri, did the numbers increase in the off-season, if that was your goal? Did the numbers improve your marketing for an off-season?
Oh, Nuri. Oh, okay, sorry.
Sorry, you mean the number of sales or something like that? Visitors. Actually, we are in the recovery phase, I would say, because we opened the border from last year only, so it's still recovering. But we found something has changed compared to the pre-pandemic. Previously, our main focus market was Asia, but we got many new market travelers coming, such as from UK and France, and many Western market travelers are coming, and also we ran the survey to the travelers. So what is the reason to make you travel to Korea? The first reason was, of course, they like the Korean culture, but the second was because of the Korean contents. So it was something new we didn't expect. And thinking about pandemic time, it was a crisis, but wasn't it the time that we stay indoor the most and we watch a Netflix series also? So I think it's one of the a big the opportunity for us to educate the people about the new things.
One question I'll ask. We talk about sustainability in such a positive light. It's great. It's the future. We all have to do it. What annoys you about sustainability? What just drives you nuts? Because it's challenging, it's hard, but there is frustration with it. I'll say what we all know, it's kind of overused, and I will say greenwashing is probably one of the biggest issues the industry is going to have, just because a lot of people are going to, we all see it. They're throwing it onto their label, their marketing, their branding, but they're not doing it. But from you guys, any negatives that you see with sustainability that's frustrating, that's challenging, that's preventing you from reaching your goals, what you want to accomplish?
I think one of the things, it doesn't necessarily, is a bigger problem than what we can kind of address today, but in the UK at least, is that it is wrapped up in this kind of culture war in the UK of left and right and wrong, and there is this kind of focus now over there on getting rid of 15-minute neighbourhoods and kind of being pro-car, and it's a kind of dangerous, the way the story is being told over there in the media is dangerous because it's kind of pitting people against each other, people who kind of believe that there is a problem with where we're heading and it needs to be fixed, and people who think it's just an overreaction. And I think part of that comes from the fact that it is just so overwhelming that people just feel helpless to some extent. So, you know, on the one hand, it's kind of making small changes in individual life, but also it's kind of showing a lifestyle, a kind of broader change. You know, we're not saying that everyone's going to transform to being vegan and have an electric car overnight, but we kind of need to, you know, everyone's on their own journey with it and they need to take step by step. But in the UK, it feels like we're going backwards on that, and a lot of the media in the UK is kind of is right wing. I guess that gets a bit political, but it means that the story that's being told about
this is a safe space.
I can just go off on one now. The trouble is that the bulk of information that is getting to the general public in the UK now, at least, is that this has kind of been one big overreaction, and we need to go back the other way, and it's wrapped up in the cost of living crisis and inflation, and you know, this kind of pro big business. I mean, it's like Anna spoke about yesterday. The system kind of needs to change, and yeah, it's just hard to break that.
What's a 15-minute neighborhood?
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, it's kind of like city planning that is built around the fact that you can get from anywhere from your home to your place of work to the shops, etc., within 15 minutes. So during the pandemic, it became quite a popular thing in the UK because people focused on widening streets, reducing the number of cars that were going around, things like that, and reducing speed limits so that neighbourhoods became more walkable and more environmentally friendly. But now there is a pushback on that, so they're being ripped out. Policy is changing to kind of increase speed limits again, focus on car drivers, and it's kind of the way that society was created, and urban planning kind of worked from Roman times. Really, it was like your neighbourhood and everything was on your doorstep, and it's kind of going back to that. But there's kind of conspiracies around it in terms of locking down populations in future pandemics, and it makes it easier if you're in a small neighbourhood. So again, it's that kind of what I call the culture war in the UK is kind of wrapped up in all of that.
Okay. Well, I got the official hook, but any last comment to say on that? Just any other of anything being said? All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining. I hope you enjoyed it.